Sonic the Hedgehog is one of the most beloved video game franchises of all time, and it's easy to see why. Bright colors, cute animals, goofy robots, it's got pretty much everything that kids like to see. Those of us who have grown up with it, however, have noticed some pretty weird stuff that we missed when we were younger. Here are the things that only adults notice in Sonic the Hedgehog. The villains of Sonic Lost World are, on the surface, nothing more than a quirky set of punching bags for Sonic to dunk on. However, it only takes one close listen to their in-game dialogue to reveal a different story entirely. Take Zaz for example. He's a spiky string bean of a bad guy with the voice of an emo high schooler, which is pretty standard as far as Sonic bad guys go. Midway through one of the first levels, however, his voice can be heard taunting Sonic with a pretty hardcore threat.
You're going home in a box!
That's something a serial killer would say. While the wording is subtle enough that a kid might not think twice about the sentence, it's the kind of thing that'll make any adult pause and really assess the threat this villain poses. If that wasn't bad enough, it gets worse. At one point, Zaz also drops the insanely threatening line, "I'm going to skin you alive," and all of his bad guy pals share a similar propensity for death threats. It seems there's a reason these guys are called the Deadly Six, and it's probably because they talk like actual murderers. Sonic Lost World isn't just the last bastion of Zeti privilege in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe. It's also the home of Zomom, who initially appears to be the laughingstock of the Deadly Six. He's overweight, obsessed with food, and dumb as a brick, and the game plays off that for jokes. Until, that is, it stops being a joke, and Zomom has a moment of weirdly painful self-exploration. It's a brief, fleeting sentence. Amidst his lengthy ravings about food, at one point he stops and says,
"Oh, I need an intervention."
You got dark, girl. You got real dark.
It's spoken with a sadness and sincerity that kind of resonates with anyone who's actually struggled with addiction. It's a pretty shockingly somber bit of dialogue to insert amidst the fat yellow cartoon monster string of goofy video game taunts.
You better not make fun of my size! That hurt.
Hopefully, Zomom gets the help he's so desperate for in a future Sonic game.
Mom was right, I'm a failure!
Amy Rose has always been portrayed as having a huge crush on Sonic, but judging by the way he treats her, she should definitely be directing her affections elsewhere. He's continually treated her like a second-class hedgehog without even a shred of remorse. Sonic's "too cool for the ladies" persona might help to mask the true nature of this unsavory behavior, but the reality is that he's just downright abusive. Take the ending of Sonic CD, for example. Sonic drops off Amy in the middle of nowhere without stopping to see if she's okay or offering any further assistance whatsoever. He just ditches her. And remember Sonic Riders? Dr. Eggman uses Amy as a hostage shield, and instead of working out some way to save her, Sonic just dives in and writes her off as potential collateral damage. While she miraculously avoids injury during this dangerous move, Sonic's total disregard for her safety is pretty messed up. Then there's the time in Sonic Generations when she just wanted to wish Sonic a happy birthday, and he literally shoves his hand into her face to shut her up. Here's a tip, guys. If a girl is interested in you, do not shove your hand in her face by way of response. A polite thanks but no thanks will do. Sonic sucks. Sonic the Hedgehog has a lot of good qualities, but you can never accuse him of being modest. It's not just the extreme confidence in his ability to run fast and blow things up, he's defeated Eggman enough times to earn that arrogance. The real lack of modesty comes in his choice of only ever wearing 2 items of clothing, shoes and gloves. Set aside the fact that he's running around out there practically naked though, and there's still another problem with his minimalistic wardrobe. He's always wearing gloves and shoes, no matter what. Does he ever even change these items out for fresh pairs? It doesn't seem like it. That means those same sneakers from the Genesis days are getting more and more worn down with every entry in the series. Even worse, it's crazy gross to wear the same pair of gloves for almost 30 years. Think of the sweat buildup. With all those golden rings he collects, you'd think Sonic would have invested in a fresh set of clothing by now. Of course, the biggest question this fashion oddity presents is the mystery of what his hands and feet look like. Does he actually have toes, like these cartoon clips seem to indicate? Or are they just big blue nubs? You can find the answers in fan art if you want, but we wouldn't recommend looking for it. Ever take a close look at Sonic's eyes and notice that it's actually just one eye? Every time his brows lift ever so slightly in a cutscene, gameplay, or promo art, it's revealed that he's got one massive eyeball that just happens to have 2 pupils. It's some pretty anatomically unnerving stuff. But beyond the unsettling appearance, what kind of health implications does this strange condition have for the heroic hedgehog? Well, one concern is that if he ever receives an injury to one of his eyes, it'll technically be to both of them. Dr. Eggman might want to start targeting that massive peeper then. since blinding it could be the singular key to finally defeating Sonic, especially since his head represents at least a third of his body mass, and the eyeball is the biggest part of that. Sega, we're begging you, design your characters with 2 or more eyeballs, please, for all our sakes. At first glance, Dr. Eggman's nefarious badniks seem coded solely to eradicate Sonic and friends. However, a certain mission in Sonic Generations reveals some alternative programming in their system. During one mission, Rouge the Bat is tasked with using her wiles, as the game puts it, to distract badniks so that Sonic can attack them. She kicks off the mission saying, "That piece of junk robot is no match for my charms." The level consists of using Rouge to blow kisses at the killer machines to earn their romantic attentions. Even taken at face value, that's a pretty strange gimmick. Dwelling on it for just a while longer, though, reveals a far more sinister truth. Evidently, the good doctor has programmed his badniks to be aroused by anthropomorphic animals, for purposes that we can only assume are absolutely disgusting. The questions regarding Dr. Eggman's motives might take you farther down the rabbit hole than even he intended. And while we're on the subject of Rouge, when you're a kid, Rouge the Bat seems just like another member of Sonic's colorful cast. But once you've grown up, you're definitely going to start to realize that, well, she's pretty grown up too. And not in a way that fits with the rest of the series. While other ladies like Amy Rose wear cute dresses, Rouge is straight up rocking a latex fetish outfit that exposes cleavage and remains the only character in the franchise's history to ever straight up reference kinky sex.
ハードなプレイがお好みなの?
Her voice carries a deliberately sultry undertone, unlike that of any of her fellow cast members, and like we said, she's portrayed as being so attractive that she can seduce robots. All of it is very, very strange, especially when you consider the fact that the games never play up this aspect of her character for story purposes. This leaves us with no choice but to assume she exists exclusively for one particular subsection of fans, courtesy of Sega. While Dr. Eggman might be a one-dimensional kids franchise character whose objectives are purely motivated by bad guy logic, that still doesn't explain the dark nature of his deeds. Think about it, he's a grown man with a genius-level IQ who spends all day creating contraptions with which to constrict, constrain, and kill animals. He shoves little woodland creatures into his robots to use their life energy as fuel, and spends all of his time and effort trying to kill Sonic and friends, which means he's spending his days trying to slaughter hedgehogs, cats, foxes, weirdly sexy bats, and other sorts of adorable furry creatures.
Every humiliation at the Hedgehog's hands will be returned 1,000-fold by my unstoppable creation.
Is that something a kid-friendly villain does? No, that's a mission held by a ruthless sociopath with no regard for the concept of wildlife protection. This is a villain that preys on the weak animals that occupy the world around him, biding his time until he can once again take a stab at killing them when a new Sonic game rolls around. And when Eggman's even willing to go after Knuckles, the last member of an entire species, it's just further evidence that this is a bad guy with problems that run way too deep for the child-friendly franchise he's a member of. The 2006 Sonic the Hedgehog title is the game that nearly destroyed the character's reputation.
Nice smile.
It's infamous for a lot of reasons. Tons of glitches, troublesome gameplay design choices, and a convoluted narrative are the most glaring issues when it comes to discussing this game's flaws. There are more subtle problems lurking throughout too. Most notably, its unsettling romantic elements.
I was able to be myself. A girl.
It sounds like being a princess isn't that easy.
Rather than entertaining any sort of uncreepy relationship prospects with Amy Rose, Sonic 06 instead decides to seduce a human princess. Princess Elise falls for the Hedgehog's charms, and by the end of the game, they're smitten with each other. This is why when Sonic dies at the end of the game, Elise takes it upon herself to kiss his dead corpse in hopes of resurrecting him. It seems innocent enough on the surface, like a reverse Snow White story, unless you stop to think about what's actually going on here. A human princess engaging in romantic activities with a dead animal guy? Even if it's not frowned upon in the Sonic universe, it's definitely an open invitation for all sorts of diseases, and frankly, just plain uncomfortable to watch. One of the coolest moments in the original Sonic the Hedgehog game came if you left the controller alone. After a few seconds, Sonic would start tapping his foot and looking out at you, the player, impatiently waiting for the game to get going. Pretty cool, right? Mario never did that. Well, unfortunately, it's just one of the many reasons that everyone's favorite hedgehog is a serious contender for being diagnosed with ADHD. Seriously, he exhibits all the signs: a short attention span, hyperactivity, perpetual restlessness, lack of restraint, extreme impulsive behavior. Kids will think it's just part of his character's rude tude, but the older one gets, the clearer it becomes that Sonic might not be practicing his gotta-go-fast mentality by choice. Remember Sonic CD? He was willing to jump off the screen and abandon his own game just so he could avoid boredom, for crying out loud. Sonic the Hedgehog isn't too cool to get bored, he's just mentally and physically incapable of coping with it. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SVG videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.